Good afternoon and thank you for joining us for the Fire Situation Report for Monday, May 23rd, 2016. I'm Daniel Berlant coming to you today live from the CAL FIRE Information Center. Today we'll cover all the latest on the fires currently burning, the weather that we can expect for this week, as well as what you can do to be prepared for the Memorial Day weekend. If you have questions, we want to hear from you. Ask those now, whether you're following us on Periscope or on Facebook Live. Ask those questions for us. Now, this past week has really been a roller coaster of weather conditions. We've seen warm temperatures, we've seen low temperatures, we've even seen some rainfall. But the consistent thing that we've seen all week long, wildfires. In fact, over 169 wildfires occurred here in California over the past week, several of them becoming large major fires. We'll talk about those here in just a moment. Now, already this year, crews have responded to over 1,100 wildfires that have burned 10,000 acres in total. So while we've had some rain and even some cooler temperatures this weekend, fire conditions are definitely here and they are definitely heightened. Now let's talk about a couple of the fires that have been burning this weekend. This here is the Metz fire that is burning in Monterey County. We'll switch over to our statewide fire map where you can see just exactly where the Metz fire is. It's burning just southeast of Soledad. We'll stop it here just to give you some perspective. Here's Salinas, here's Monterey. Highway 101 runs right down here. This fire started on Sunday and fanned by gusty winds, quickly was able to grow in size. Just to give you some more perspective, here is Soledad, here is Greenfield. Now, the Metz fire has now charred nearly 4,000 acres, specifically 3,876 acres. Firefighters do have that fire 40% contained. I want to show you some photos that were taken of the fire. You can see just how smoky and just how large this fire was able to grow, and that's in part because of the wind. Gusty winds really fanned this fire, allowing it to burn very rapidly. This is an aerial shot from our air attack. You can see just how large this fire was able to get. Now look over here how dry conditions are. Somebody asked us the question, are we still in drought conditions? Absolutely. While we have had some rainfall and some of the drought levels have decreased in some parts of the state, we're still seeing drought conditions and exceptional drought, high drought, and even serious drought in many parts of the state. Now in the Central Coast, where this fire took off, look at the grass, it is all dead, and that's what was able to burn. Now, this morning, crews were able to meet for their morning briefing, discussing what's the weather going to be like for the rest of the day. While the fire is 40% contained and the forward spread of that fire has been stopped, the wind is likely to pick up again later this afternoon. If that wind does pick up, it does have the potential to grow, but over 200 firefighters are battling the Metz fire, really trying to build that containment so that we can hold that fire at its continuing acreage. But again, the Metz fire, one of the largest fires of the year, nearly 4,000 acres so far burned. Now, there are some fires, if we'll zoom back out here on the statewide fire map, there were some fires that burned last week that are now contained, and you'll be able to see that here on the statewide fire map as we zoom out. Here's a couple of them just south of the Metz fire down in San Luis Obispo County. This is just northwest of Paso Robles, was the Roberts fire. The Roberts fire burned on Camp Roberts, thus the name the Roberts fire. It was able to burn just over 3,700 acres. The fire started on Wednesday on the Camp Roberts military base, which is just off the freeway in San Luis Obispo County. This fire, though, 100% contained. Crews were able to get it fully contained on Friday. Another shot of it, you can see an air tanker dropping fire retardant to slow down this fire. It too was a fast-moving fire along the Central Coast. Now, I do want to get to some video of some of the other fires that burned. This is the Athens fire. It started on Tuesday the 16th, just south of Lincoln in Placer County. The Athens fire was contained at 169 acres, but you can see just how close it got. This is the Thunder Valley Casino, which is just south of Lincoln. Crews have been able to get that contained. In fact, that fire was contained on Thursday, the 19th. Now, just to give you another idea, here's another video that we started out with. This is the Metz fire. Look how dry the grass is. This is an agricultural area. That's where you see the green in here, but a lot of dry grass. Now, a couple of the other major fires that we reported on last week for you that have been contained. The Avocado fire started in Fresno County, started on May 15th, just northeast of Sanger. That fire, 132 acres. It was contained on Wednesday. Another fire, the Mills fire, started on Thursday just east of Weed up in Siskiyou County. You can see it here on the map, just east of Siskiyou County. Weed, the home of one of the most destructive fires that we've had here in recent times. This fire, though, did not do any major damage. It was able, though, to destroy 56 acres, worked in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service in containing that fire. In fact, that fire was contained on Saturday, the 21st. So a lot of fires over the past week, a lot of large fires, and we'll continue to monitor the Metz fire as that fire is still being contained. If you want more information and get the latest on that fire, you can always visit our website, fire.ca.gov, or follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Now, let's get to some weather that we're expecting this week. As I mentioned, we've seen all spectrums of the weather this past week. Right now, we're seeing about temperature statewide 10 degrees cooler than on average. This is a map brought to you by our friends at the National Weather Service showing just the highs that we're expecting later in the week. Let's start out with today, though. You can see cooler temperatures, only about 70 degrees in the Sacramento area, the foothill areas, the mountain areas, actually in the 50s. By the end of the week, we are going to heat up somewhat, but still, it's not going to be a very hot week at all. We even could see some rainfall. So if I jump to the rain, you can see there is going to be very light rain up in northern California, some along the Central Sierra. That's good news. Obviously, we will take every drop of rain that we can get, but for those areas of tree mortality, that's where somebody asked us about the tree mortality. That's mainly up here in the Central Sierra of this region here, Tuolumne County down into Kern County. That's where we're going to see half an inch of rain. It is going to be a little bit rainier in that area, but with those dead trees, no amount of rain is going to bring them back. So unfortunately, the rainfall is great, but is not going to do a lot for the fire conditions. But definitely, we will take every drop we can get. The big issue, though, this week is going to be the wind. You can see everything in green here this week. Those are areas where we're going to see strong winds, up to 20 to 25 miles an hour along a lot of the coastal region, as well as Southern California. If we zoom in here, you can see the Los Angeles area, San Diego area. That's where we're starting to see some yellows, even some oranges. This could be 40 to 50 mile an hour winds in these regions. So later in the week, you definitely have to be careful because that wind is definitely going to increase the fire risk. So overall, temperatures are cooler. They're going to get a little warmer in the week, but they're definitely cooler. We could see some rainfall, but the desert passes in parts of Southern California, high winds through Wednesday. Again, very gusty conditions are likely. So somebody asked us, when will the hot winds start? Well, the Santa Ana winds and the north winds in Northern California are really the largest fire winds that we see here in our part of the state. Typically for Santa Anas, they start later in the year. Now, 2 years ago, we did see Santa Ana winds in May, so it still can happen at any point. Now, in Northern California, we've already started to see a couple days where we did see gusty north winds. Those winds, while it's early in the year, they do dry conditions back out. They make sure that grass, any moisture that may be in the grass, is completely dried out. Now, a great question from Bradley Downing, who asked, what is the weather outlook for 2016? We've seen a little bit more rainfall than we've had the last couple of years. That has been great. Again, we'll take every drop we can get, but conditions are drying. It has not been enough rain to really get us out of the drought conditions. We are still seeing serious to exceptional drought in many parts of the state, and that is leading to higher than normal fire risk conditions. Now, Chris Martin asked, have we seen or heard of any increase in bug kill trees with the increase in moisture? We are seeing more and more trees dying off across the state. The rain has been great, but it is likely when the drought ends, which will not be this year, it's likely that we'll continue to see tree mortality for the next 3 to 5 years. So if you're living in areas, especially along the Central Sierra, this part of the state, that's where we're seeing the biggest pockets. But the tree mortality problem is continuing to grow further to the north, and really there are dead trees all across the states. Now, somebody asked Barbara Boyer, your question, will the rain kill the bark beetle? No, unfortunately it won't. As I mentioned, it may take 3 to 5 years before we start to see a decrease in tree mortality and the bark beetle population returns. So it is unlikely that it's going to end this year at this point. Now, let's talk about this weekend. It is Memorial Day. Many people are probably going to be enjoying a 3-day weekend. If you're going out for this weekend, you're going to go out recreate, make sure you take some extra precautions because conditions are risky right now for wildfire. So you do need to take steps to make sure that if you're going camping, if you're doing anything that has an open flame like a barbecue, you take those steps to ensure that you are fire safe. So let's go through a little bit of video here, talk about what you're going to do. If you're going camping this weekend, make sure you have a campfire permit. You can get a campfire permit by visiting a local CAL FIRE station, U.S. Forest Service ranger station, or you can get them online. Did you know you can get campfire permits online at readyforwildfire.org? You need that campfire before you go camping and start that fire. So make sure you have that campfire permit already in place. Now, once you get out there, make sure your campsite has good clearance all the way around it. You want about 10 feet of just bare mineral soil around the campfire site itself. You can see scraping up with your shovel any of that dead grass so that you have a good clearance. So when your fire is burning in the center, you have rocks to kind of keep it enclosed here, but it doesn't have any potential to get past that point. Now, once you're done with the campfire, you've got to make sure it's completely extinguished. Remember, drown, stir, and feel. Drown, stir, and feel is a great way to ensure that your fire is completely extinguished. Now, that starts by taking the shovel. You can spread some of that dirt after you've completely extinguished it with water. So if we start over here, you can see they used water, poured that water, drowned the fire. Again, we are in a drought, so make sure you're using just the amount of water that you need. But put that water on the campfire itself, then put some dirt in it. And you want to mix that water and that dirt up so that you're stirring all that to make sure that all of these hot coals, hot vegetation is completely cool. Now, before you leave, you want to take the back of your hand and test to see, have you got all the heat out of it? Make sure that you do that before you leave. You've got to ensure that that campfire is completely extinguished before you go out. But a couple other things. If you're like me, maybe you're going to go out this weekend and pull the trailer, horse trailer, boat. If you're going to go out on the lake, you've got to make sure that your trailer chains are completely connected to the vehicle. You don't want to have those trailer chains dragging on the ground. This chain right here dragging could shoot off hundreds of sparks, and it only takes one of those sparks to actually start a fire. So make sure your trailer chains are properly connected. Another thing, if you get a phone call, we have hands-free. Pull over though. Find an area clear of any vegetation. Don't pull over in dry grass. This dry grass, with touching your hot muffler, can easily spark a wildfire, so you've got to ensure that your vehicle is clear of any type of flammable vegetation like dead grass. And lastly, this is an important one all year round. Make sure your vehicle is properly maintained. It sounds simple, but if the wheels are not inflated properly, if your engine is not running, it could actually send out sparks. Debris or other items could fall off the vehicle as well, and all of those could start a fire. So make sure you take the proper steps this Memorial Day to have a very safe Memorial Day weekend. Now, we have a lot of great information on our website on how you can be fire safe on Memorial Day. You can visit fire.ca.gov. Now, Natalie asked a great question. Will officials be monitoring the American River to make sure people don't start fires? I don't want another fire this year. Natalie, neither do I. Hopefully, people are taking that extra precaution. Only start fires in areas where they are legal campfires. So if you're going to a state park or you're going along the river, make sure you have a designated campfire area before you actually start a campfire. And Barbara asked a great question. Please remind everyone to clear out fuel next to their homes. Barbara, absolutely. Good defensible space around your home is important all year round, but this weekend, if you haven't got it done, get out there, do some weed trimming, clear that dead grass. This is the time of year. Again, you can find all that information on readyforwildfire.org. That is the best location for more information on how you can be safe this Memorial Day weekend. Now, that's the latest on the fire situation here in California. I'm Daniel Berlant. Have a fire-safe week and a fire-safe Memorial Day weekend.